Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are. My name is Manuel, and this is episode one of whatever we're gonna call this. So, I guess, like, as an introduction, I've been kind of learning about philosophy on my own free time um, for just under 2 years, I think. So, I thought, why not make a series out of this, make some videos or a podcast. I thought that would be fun. And I guess to start this off, we're going to talk about the basic structure of how this is going to work, I guess. Well, first things, I don't want to script these episodes just because I wanted to make something that was more casual, more conversational. I've listened to a bunch of podcasts that were very academic, I guess. Like philosophy podcasts, they tend to be a little more serious, a little more educational. Well, I guess this is probably going to be educational, but you know what I mean. I don't want it to be too serious, too academic. So just keep it light, just kind of hang out, you know? You know what I mean? I do have some bullet points just to keep me on track in case I start to yap too much. We don't wanna steer off of the day's topic. That's basically the vibe that I'm going for. And I guess the structure would be I would start with we could start each episode with something like life updates or channel updates, what I got going on. Um, you know, I think that would be a good way to start it off. It's it's chill. We're just vibing, just talking about life. And then after that, we could get into the topic of the day. We're probably gonna have a different topic every episode. Um, and then probably once we're done with the topic, we could talk about what we have planned. It could be personal or about the channel. Like, we could talk about what the next episode is going to be, or if I got anything big going on in life. I think that would be interesting. That would be like a good kind of structure. It's kind of like a sandwich. Start by talking about what happened since last episode, then get into this episode, and then talk about what's gonna be next episode, or what I have planned in the meantime. I think that'd be cool. Yeah. So obviously, since this is the first episode, we're not gonna have any updates. But yeah, I thought that would be a good way to structure this. We'll see. And then you might have noticed if you're watching the video format of this that I am in a closet. Um, yeah, I didn't really put a lot of work into this setup. I literally just sat in my closet and that's it. But hopefully, if I keep doing this like a long-term kind of thing, we could change it up. Um, I could do this in a different place, or we could stay here, but decorate it and like kind of improve. the setup in general, not just the looks, but also the equipment and stuff. Yeah, that just kind of depends on how this goes. If I want to do this for a long time consistently, then I'll definitely have to do that. Yeah. Anyways, let's get into today's topic, which is, what is philosophy? Now, I feel like philosophy has been kind of on the rise lately. I mean, it's still not like, it's not like something that everyone is into, but I definitely see it a lot more online. It could be because of my algorithm, I don't know, but at least I've been noticing it more than I used to. And yeah, I think it's important to know, like, a way to define it, or a way to understand the main idea of what we're talking about here. But yeah, like, what is philosophy? I mean, I've seen people say that their favorite philosopher is Kanye West, for example, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know a lot about Kanye, but I probably wouldn't call him a philosopher. I don't know. Maybe people out there do, and that's fine. But yeah, today's topic was actually inspired by a video I watched on YouTube from this guy called Jeffrey Kaplan. He's a professor of philosophy in the University of North Carolina, I think. And yeah, he makes videos about philosophy that are like pretty much like lectures. So that's pretty cool. If you want to learn from an actual professor, he'll just he'll just be making videos. It's pretty cool. But yeah, so basically he explains what philosophy is in a couple different ways, right? So the first way that he explains it is, if you think about the kinds of questions that children ask, or that stoners ask, or that some religions ask or deal with, I guess, a lot of those are philosophical questions. Like things that are very, I guess you could call them abstract, or that we don't really have a good way of coming up with an answer. Like, for example, what is the meaning of life? Or does God exist? They're very difficult questions to answer unless you're very passionate about a religion and you know all the answers. Then it's pretty easy. But otherwise, I would say most people have a hard time answering those kinds of questions. And that's basically what philosophy does. But there's more to it, right? Another way that he explains what philosophy is he basically says, like, take every question or every topic, and philosophy is not science. So anything that is observable, or not observable, but anything that you can get an answer from observation or from experimentation is not philosophy. Because that's answering those questions is science's job, not philosophy, right? And same thing with math. If there's something that you can solve by doing calculations or some kind of proof, like the way that mathematicians solve problems. And that's not philosophy either, because that's math's job to solve those problems. And he argues that basically everything else is philosophy. So anything that's not science or math is philosophy. And so, like I said earlier, it's when it comes to questions like these, there are hard questions to answer. And the problem with a lot of philosophical questions is that you can't prove, or you can't have real evidence of an answer. Sometimes it's like, like if you ask what's the meaning of life, what there's no proof or evidence that any answer is correct or incorrect, right? And so it really is more about what convinces you the most, or what you think makes the most sense, or which argument you think is better. And yeah, a lot of the time is very intuitive. It's more about what resonates with you, what convinces you the most. And for some people that could be a problem. And also just based on the nature of some of these questions, the answers can be a little controversial. And yeah, that's something that we need to be careful about. But some people love it. I mean, some people love controversial takes, controversial topics. And I think it's important to not immediately discard or discredit hot takes. As hard as that is to do, because especially if you have a strong belief about something, and you hear something that's like the complete opposite, it's like it's so easy to brush it off. But I think it's important to listen, to think about things, to question tradition or your own beliefs, I guess. I think that's kind of how you grow as a person. If you never challenge yourself, then you never change, right? You're gonna be the same person your whole life. That doesn't sound very fun. But yeah. So some people, after hearing this, it's like, okay, there's no proof that this answer is the right answer. There's no evidence that this is how things should be, or that this is what the answer to these questions should be. So why even bother, right? What's the point? And that's understandable. Like, it takes a lot of patience and a lot of thinking things through, trying to understand other people with different beliefs. But I think it's really valuable, right? I think these exercises of challenging the way that you see the world and trying to understand how other people see the world, it really exercises your critical thinking. It's something that I think it's important to practice it. Another thing is, you might not really know what you believe sometimes. If you've never thought about something, I think it's important to know how you feel about it. I think it's important to develop your own beliefs, your own point of view, and how you feel about certain things, instead of kind of going with what other people are saying, which that's also like really easy to do. I've done it. Everyone's done it. Like you hear something and you're just like, yeah, that makes sense, and you just go with it, right? But we don't normally question those things, especially if it's something that is very common, or that maybe it's a belief that you've had your whole life. It's really hard to go against that. It's really hard to challenge your values, your beliefs. But I think it's important to know yourself better, and to try to figure out what's the best way to go, even if we don't have all the answers, right? You might not have the answer to how to be a good person. I mean, different people have different definitions of what a good person is, but I think it's important to try to figure out what that means to you, and how you can do something like that. How to get closer to that ideal, I guess. Um, yeah, those are some of the reasons why I think philosophy is very valuable to me, and why it might be valuable to other people as well. Like it might help you understand yourself better, or understand the world, or help you figure out who you want to be. And also, philosophy is fun, so it might not be fun for some people, but I think it's fun. And that's what matters, right? Having fun. So yeah, I think now that we talked about that, we can talk about the different branches of philosophy, because honestly, philosophy is such a broad field of study. Like, there's all kinds of things that philosophers have talked about, and it's been going on for like thousands of years. Like, at this point, they've talked about literally everything, pretty much. But the main branches, I'm obviously not going to name all of them, because we would be here for hours talking about all of them. But some of the kinds of topics that interest me the most, or that are popular, that most people probably have heard of, at least at some point. Well, maybe not most people, but a lot of people. Um, the first one is ethics. And ethics deals with morality. Like, what's good or what's evil, right? Like, what is the right thing to do, or what is a wrong thing to do? That's ethics. And not just that, but also how to lead an ethical life, how to be a moral person. And also just keep in mind, each of these like branches of philosophy also have, like, what would you call it? Like subgroups, like different schools of thought. So it just keeps dividing, branching out. but but yeah. So in ethics we have like utilitarianism, for example. What that says: the right thing to do is whatever generates the most good for the most amount of people. So it sounds good, It's like you're supposed to do whatever makes the most people happy, or what gives the most people pleasure. But then you run into some problems like, what if you need to sacrifice one person to make two people happy? Technically, you're doing something that would benefit more people. The, the two people are going to benefit, and only one person has to suffer. But it's like, it's kind of weird. It's kind of messed up. And then that's basically utilitarianism. Obviously, this is a very simplified explanation. We can go into more detail in some future episode, but I'm just giving a basic overview for the first episode. Another popular school of thought in ethics is deontology, and deontology is very strict. It's like, it's about rules, you know. It doesn't matter if you're dealing with one person or two people or whatever. What matters is that you're following this specific set of rules, and they are very focused on like duty or obligation. You know, it's like you have a duty to be a good person or whatever. You always have to act like the action itself is the only thing that matters, and the consequences don't. So if you kill one person, you save two people or whatever, right? Utilitarianism would say, yeah, you should kill the person because then you're saving two people, and two people saving two people is better than saving one person. But deontology would say no, there are rules, right? There are rules that include don't kill people. So even though you could save those two people, you are not allowed to kill the one person because that's wrong. Killing people is wrong, so you should not kill the one person, right? And that's like the main difference between the two of them. Those are probably the two most popular schools of thought in ethics. It's like, it really depends on the situation. Sometimes utilitarianism can be more convincing, and sometimes deontology is more convincing. But yeah, that's a very common example. If you ever look it up, you'll probably see something like that. Some examples similar to that. There's another one that is really old. It started in ancient Greece, I think, and it's called virtue ethics. And basically, virtue ethics, their main thing is that you have to be a virtuous person, and what they mean by that is there are certain virtues that a person can have, and those are things like being brave, being kind, being generous, or whatever. It's like that kind of stuff. It's all about like you have to live your life in a way that you are all of those things, and that is the right thing to do. Or like when you're making a decision, you're supposed to make that decision with those things in mind. Like you make a decision in a way that is kind and brave and whatever else they say. I haven't I haven't been keeping up with my virtue ethics, so I'm pretty sure you can tell. But yeah, those are probably the three most popular. And then there's other branches of philosophy like epistemology. which is the study of knowledge. And a lot of the time, they'll ask questions like, how do we know what we know? Or what is knowledge? How do you know that? How do, how do you know that your knowledge is real knowledge? It's very like it's definitely kind of dense, especially if you're trying to read epistemology or like if you first get into it, it's like you need a lot of patience for that. Yeah, I don't really know a lot about epistemology to be honest, but that's the that's how I understand it at least. I could be wrong. Um, Metaphysics is kind of interesting. Some of it is like about the universe. Some of it is about human existence. Kind of like I think existentialism is metaphysics. It's a part of metaphysics. Existentialism is all about like what is the meaning of life, or like what's the point of all of this. Yeah, it's all about like life. What are you supposed to do with your life? It's life is suffering, mom, and stuff like that. It's I think it's really interesting to learn about it, but for obvious reasons it can get pretty dark. There are some philosophers that are definitely emo. If emos existed back in that time, they would definitely be emo. But that didn't exist back then, so they became philosophers, I guess. Yeah, it's interesting, but you gotta go into it carefully. Like, probably don't do it if you are in a bad mindset. Like if you're dealing with stuff, if you're in a bad place, probably don't read a lot of existentialism because it's crazy. But yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, philosophy, honestly, the branches of philosophy go everywhere. There's philosophy of religion, for example, is like, does God exist? Um, is God the kind of God that we think he is? Or is God actually different from what we imagine? Like, is God really all good, all powerful, all knowing, or is he maybe different? Or like, what's the correct religion? What's the real one? Which is it? Um, yeah, I'm not a religious person, but I think it's interesting. There's philosophy of education, which that one seems like a lot more practical, right? Because you know, it's you're not talking about the universe or God or the meaning of life. You're talking about education, which is very real, very like you can actually change the way that the education system works. Well, we probably can't, but if a philosophical idea gets big enough, some governments might look into that. Yeah, there's like philosophy of education is like um, what is the best way to educate people, or what is the how can we make it fair for everyone? How do we how do we make sure that the system works and that it works for everyone? Kind of like that. And yeah, I mean, like I said, there's everything, so I'm probably gonna stop soon. but there's also like political philosophy. It's like, what is the best kind of government, or what is, how can we govern in a way that it's fair or that it's efficient, right? Like, is it better to have a monarchy, or is it better to have a democracy or an aristocracy or a dictatorship or anarchy? Or what's the best kind of government to have? That's kind of what they ask. And if you're into politics, that's probably a very interesting one. I haven't spent too much time with it, but most of what I've been exposed to is like really old, you know, like uh, like ancient Greece, or like Chinese, but from like thousands of years ago, or probably not thousands, like, I don't know, but a long time ago. Like all these people that were living a long time ago that are like, yeah, we should probably get rid of the king, probably get rid of emperors. It's not really working out for us. And yeah, I guess we can stop there because I'm gonna keep going forever. But yeah, that's pretty much like a very basic overview of what philosophy is, or what kinds of topics does philosophy deal with. And we will definitely get into more specifics. Like we can get into a specific topic or a specific philosopher and do an episode about that. Um, I don't know if the format is gonna stay the same, but it's uh, it's a work in progress. I have a feeling that I would enjoy this format, but I don't know if it's a format that would be enjoyable to listen to. So we'll have to see. I'll think about that. And yeah, but for now that's probably how it's gonna be. And then if I don't like it, I'll change it. Or if anyone, if people don't like it, I'll change it. But yeah, I don't. Let's see. Plans? Do I have any plans? I gotta go buy groceries. Those are my plans. Go grocery shopping. Make dinner. And for next episode, we're probably gonna do ancient Greece. We could do either ancient Greece or uh, a specific kind of school of thought, like consequentialism. It's gonna be one of the two. I haven't decided yet, but those are the two contenders. We could do either ancient Greece or a school of thought. That's what I'm thinking right now. But yeah, we're gonna wrap it up here. And, for anyone listening, let me know if you like this kind of vibe, like very casual, unscripted. I'm just yapping. If you like listening to me yapping, or if you don't, let me know so I can change it up. Maybe I should have a script. I don't know. You tell me. And yeah, if anyone is interested in having a say in what next episode is going to be, you can let me know. Give me suggestions for what you would want to learn about, what we should talk about, or if you have any suggestions for the format, that would be pretty cool. And yeah, that's gonna be it for today. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.